Hello friends, Tom Downey here for Chat Sports Live from the College Football Playoff National Championship. I'm joined by Holly Rowe. Holly, thank you for stopping by today.
This is a really cool setup. I'm very impressed with Chat
Thank
Sports,
you.
so thank you for having me. This is cool.
Good start.
Yes.
Good start. All right, so let's talk a little bit about you. You have had a jet-setting year, I'll say is the best way to go about it. You've beaten cancer again and all over the place for ESPN this year.
Let me just tell you my last week. That will tell you my life. So I did the Cotton Bowl semifinal, Notre Dame, Clemson. Then we went straight to the Sugar Bowl where we saw Texas really out-physical Georgia, which was shocking to me. And then I went straight to the Baylor-UConn game where Baylor upset UConn for the first time in the regular season. In 4 years, they lost a regular season game. And then I'm here. So it's been, I'm not sure what city I'm in, but I think it's the national championship. Tell me if I'm wrong.
You're correct so far. Let's talk a little bit about that national championship. And you, of course, are the ESPN sideline reporter. You'll be on the Clemson side, correct, for this game?
That's right. Our national team is Sean McDonough does play-by-play. Todd Blackledge is the analyst. Then Ian Fitzsimmons will be on Alabama sideline, and I will be on Clemson.
All right, so let's talk then about the coaches as well, because I know you've had plenty of experience with Dabo and Nick Saban. Who gives the better sideline interview for you?
Oh, this is a great question because everyone will assume I'll say Dabo because he's great and he's so personable and friendly. But I literally can ask Dabo one question and then we're off and running. Right. So we had a funny situation when we were at the Cotton Bowl, and I'm supposed to go from my interview over to Tom Rinaldi with Brian Kelly. And my producer's in my ear going, wrap him up, because Dabo's, he's going pretty long. And I'm like, how do you want me to stop this man? So I'm kind of like patting him on the back, like, I hope you know this means wrap it up. So it's very funny. But I would say Nick is better in that only because he gives me very specific, detailed information. So let's say we had a game this year where the very opening play of the game, Ole Miss burned them for a touchdown, a long touchdown. And I asked him, what went wrong on that play, and he kind of gave me a vague answer. And then I followed up, and he's like, well, we changed guys. So he gives you real information of, we fired a guy back there. He didn't do his job, and we fired him. So I just always appreciate Coach Saban because he actually will answer questions and give real information.
That's always a good point there. And is it weird for you to have Alabama-Clemson again this time around?
Yes and no. I love it. These are the two best teams. I mean, let's face it. We thought we were on this collision course all year. Both teams had to overcome some adversity, with Tua's injury and having to come back and win against Georgia. Clemson, I happened to be there during their Syracuse game where they had made the quarterback change. Kelly Bryant decides to transfer midweek. Trevor Lawrence gets his first start and then gets injured in the second quarter. And they bring in who was their fourth-string quarterback starting the season, and he has to win the game for them. So I do think that these are the two best teams, but they're not without flaws. They've had to overcome adversity. So I love it. I'm calling it the Drago matchup. Are you too young for Rocky IV? You're probably too young for Rocky.
I've seen them. I've seen them all.
Oh, thank God.
So
okay. I was like, am I going to have to judge him on this show? And I've just met you, and I'm going to have to judge you. Okay.
Let's talk then about those quarterbacks and the young change, I'll put it, for college football of how we've gone from, it's always the veterans to, okay, now we've got a true freshman starting, and Bama made the switch last year to a true freshman quarterback. Is that a different change for you, and how have you noticed those players handle that adversity and pressure they faced?
Yes, it's a different change, but I think it's been coming. I mean, we've seen, Jalen Hurts started as a true freshman. He came in the first game of the season against USC and performed well in that game, led them to the national championship that year, or to the championship game that year. And I think Nick Saban said something really great in his press conference today where he said, I coached in an era where freshmen were ineligible. And so the expectation was never to come in and play right away. And even recently, the expectation has been come in, get your feet wet, earn some snaps. But now the expectation is come in and take a job. So we saw that, we were there the week of Clemson making their quarterback change. And Todd Blackledge, my analyst all year, made a great point. He really believes with all of his heart Clemson made that change because they saw what Alabama was doing with Tua and how the offense of Alabama had evolved into a vertical passing game, stretched the field, and they knew that to score enough and keep up with the Alabamas of the world, they'd have to do the same, and Trevor Lawrence was their best option to do that.
Couldn't agree more there. All right, so one last final question for you, not so much specific to this game. What's your favorite memory moment in covering college football?
Oh, my gosh.
It's a tough one, I know.
There's so many. I really don't know. But I'll tell you my favorite game I ever worked was the Rose Bowl with Vince Young, Texas versus USC. By some miracle, I was on the sideline for Texas. Lynn Swan was their normal reporter. He decided to run for Congress 2 weeks before, so I got to be on that game by some miracle. So I just will never forget being on the sideline. Vince Young is going to go into the game for the first time. And he just looks at me, catches my eye, and just winks at me like, I've got this. And I'm like, okay, you've got this. And he did. So that's a fun memory for me.
All right, folks, those of you watching, let us know in the comment section who you've got in the national title game, Clemson or Alabama. I know you're not allowed to make a prediction, but what are your expectations for the game?
My expectation is it's all about the offensive and defensive line. So can Clemson's center and right guard hold up against Quinn and Williams? I mean, I think that's a little matchup in the game that we're not talking about enough. And if the offensive line of Clemson allows Trevor Lawrence to operate and that they can run the ball with Travis Etienne, I think we have a really good ball game on our hands. If they can't, Alabama wins another championship.
Holly Rowe, everyone, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank
I appreciate
you.
it.
Nice to see you.